Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Council meeting. I'm Deputy Mayor Trent Sullivan, and I'll be chairing tonight in the absence of Mayor Stephanie Asher, who is away on family leave. First of all, Council would like to acknowledge the Wadawurrung, traditional owners of this land, and I pay my respects to all elders, past and present, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Greater Geelong community today. Now, this meeting is being broadcast on the internet, and the recording of this meeting will be published on Council's website. We're meeting tonight via Zoom, so good evening to all councillors who are online with us, and thank you to everybody who's tuning in via our live stream. This meeting is outside our usual monthly meeting schedule, and it's being held specifically to consider the City of Greater Geelong's financial report for the 2020-21 financial year, as well as our long-term financial plan. So it is a short agenda, but both are very important items. So we're looking forward to discussing these issues. However, before we move on, Councillor Contell and Councillor Murray wish to make a short statement. Over to you first, Councillor Contell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, we would also like to acknowledge our residents and our fellow Victorians, in fact, who unfortunately find themselves in other states at the moment, unable to cross the borders and return home due to the COVID pandemic restrictions. And we all know how difficult the pandemic has been in so many ways. And of course, this only heightens when separated from loved ones. And we have been contacted by a number of these residents, and we want them to know that we are advocating for them to come back home and back to Geelong when it's safe to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Contell. Councillor Murray.
Councillors have been heartened by the announcement from the state government that home-based quarantine trials will begin for returning Victorians. We have written to the Premier encouraging the government to work as quickly as it can to finalise a solution to bring people home as soon as possible. We wish our residents and our families a speedy and safe return. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillors Contell and Murray. I'm sure your sentiments are widely shared amongst the group. And now, back to tonight's agenda. We have apologies and leaves of absence first. There is an apology from Councillor Stephanie Asher, who couldn't make it here this evening. Do we have any other apologies or leaves of absence to be noted? I have a request from Councillor Asher for leave of absence from the 14th to the 21st of September inclusive. Do I have a mover and a seconder for this, please? Councillor Mason to move. Councillor Mansfield to second. Put that to the vote. All in favour? All against? Thank you. With no further requests for leaves of absence for councillors tonight, we'll move on to declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest in relation to tonight's agenda? If any arise for this meeting, please make them known. Now, the next item is public question and submission time. However, we have received no questions for tonight's meeting, so we'll move straight into the first item on tonight's agenda. Section B, reports. The annual financial report for year ended 30th of June 2021. Do I have a mover? Councillor Contell. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, Councillor Aiken, I must make. Councillor Aiken, and then seconded, Councillor Grisbeck. Councillor Aiken, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acting Mayor. Look, don't worry. Today started off watching the Breakfast News channel on ABC. And if you want to see someone do a fantastic slip of reading the auto cue, watch that one because that was a lot of fun. So it's great to be ending the night being relaxed and enjoying ourselves. But as Trent highlighted, this is a very important item that's actually coming before us. This is actually presentation of our annual financial report and annual financial statement for the year ended the 30th of June 2021. Well, it was another year of significant COVID impacts for everybody, including the City of Greater Geelong. There has been reports that we're experiencing significant surplus the reality is that our underlying operating position is actually a deficit. And tonight, our financial reports show us that we've actually got a deficit of 7.8 million. And COVID actually had a $14.8 million impact on the city. And when you combine that with last year's figures of $10.5 million, that actually means that COVID thus far in Geelong has cost us $25.3 million through both lost revenue and also additional expenditure associated with COVID. So it isn't just an impact of us personally, it's actually a significant financial impact that's been occurring to the council. Our financial reports are quite interesting when you do look at them in detail. For the first time ever, our assets and equity is $3.1 billion. So the council is now a $3.1 billion business. So that means it's extremely significant. First time ever, we've moved over into the $3 billion category. Another one too that comes under great interest of the community is our rates that we collect at the council. Our budgeted rate position was actually $260 million. We actually only got $257 million of rates. So we were below what our budgeted position was. And a lot of that is contributed towards the impacts that COVID made on valuations in our community and also capacity for people to actually pay their rates over the last 12 months. It is well known that our statutory fees and fines and our user fees have actually been significantly impacted as well too. And in fact, our user fees, which were primarily from our leisure and aquatic facilities, were down by about $5.2 million. And our statutory fees were down by a combined about $3.3 million based on what we budgeted. The city's actually worked extremely hard during the last 12 months, and that's reflected with our financial figures. So as the chair of the Finance Committee, I certainly want to congratulate Martin and his team for the fantastic work they've done to manage the community's finances as best they could in the incredible period of which we've experienced over the last 12 months. And I want to assure the community as well too that even though we are operating in a deficit, we are trying to manage the demands that are being put upon us by the community. And in our budgeted position for this financial year, we're also anticipating a deficit, but we are committed to try to return our finances back to surplus in the following financial year. This financial period that we're presenting also had a record $121.2 million worth of capital expenditure, which was it was amazing to be able to achieve that during the COVID restriction period. So congratulations to all the teams that actually delivered our capital works projects over the last 12 months. There's been significant restrictions on how many people could operate and deliver the construction. There's also been significant supply issues associated with materials that have gone into those. So congratulations to the team in that area. And the last thing I wish to comment is that, look, I'm not anticipating that the Victorian Auditor General will actually make any comments negative about this document. Our Audit and Risk Committee, which is an independent committee, has assessed these financial figures on behalf of the council, and they have given the strongest endorsement they have ever in terms of the systems and processes that the council has. So I thank them under the leadership of Jeff, and other councillors may wish to mention that as well too in their comments that they make. But the community should have utmost confidence that we're managing their money and their assets as best we can as their elected leaders.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aiken. Councillor Grisbeck.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It is always not easy to follow Councillor Aiken when it comes to a financial report. So I would just like to say that as a member of the Audit and Risk Committee, it's been my pleasure to sit with the independent members, Jeff Harry, Lisa Tripodi and John Watson, have done an absolutely stellar job keeping us on track and really keeping us on track for this record capital expenditure, but also to balance the books during a COVID year has been pretty difficult. We wanted to make sure that we gave the community every opportunity to get help that they needed, especially the businesses around the CBD of Geelong. We tried to help individual sporting clubs with COVID grants. etc. So the Audit Risk Committee has taken a look at that, and they're not expected to have any comments come back in relation to our AFS, Australian financial statement, or the audit documents. So thank you again to the independent members, and to Martin and his team. Congratulations on a stellar year. It's not been an easy one. It's not been an easy one to balance the books with that, as Councillor Aiken has said, in terms of the capital expenditure, really trying to understand how COVID affected not only sporting grounds, we've got civic accommodation buildings, those types of things that are doing in a COVID environment, and having your workforce both not having work to do in terms of aquatic recreation not being open, but also too in terms of your workforce working from home, and then also your workforce trying to also maintain our assets during that time. So we say thank you to Martin and Michael Degina, especially in the finance team. You've done a stellar job keeping us along track, and we look forward to another record next year of capital investment into the city of Greater Geelong right across the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grisbeck. Do any of the councillors wish to make a comment on this item? Councillor Eddie Contell.
Thanks. This is Councillor Eddie Contell. Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Look, I guess we're not here to sell the result, but as Councillor Aiken indicated, no one's here to celebrate a deficit, but this is not a deficit that we have just surprisingly found ourselves in. This is something that we have been managing throughout the financial year and in preparation for the delivery of the financial results, and also that we're planning and managing and forecasting into the new financial year that we will be trading in. What has been particularly difficult, as everyone knows, is the onset of the pandemic, which has put significant strain on our revenue base. But equally, we've tried to balance that off with providing really good support for the community. And so I guess that's probably a poor choice of words, because it's almost two negatives that you've got, where your revenue base has declined and you're also trying to provide additional support, whether that be in terms of rate relief, whether it be in terms of free parking, relief in permits, things of that nature. And it's difficult enough managing a business that generates revenue for profits, let alone a local government which actually doesn't receive many of the support arms that some of the corporate and private businesses do, such as JobKeeper and the like. As we are in the pandemic still, we are still getting many requests. In fact, just as recently as today, from a number of businesses that are doing it really, really hard, asking for rent relief. So, for instance, motels that have got occupancy rates of 0 to 15%, are struggling and are paying commercial rates and are asking, can we help them? So that help and that support that is being requested, we're trying to manage. So we've still got some hard work to do, but as Councillor Grisbeck indicated, we are continuing to try to support our local communities, our small community groups through our grants programs and our sporting facilities, so that as we do get those small glimmers of hope as we head out of the pandemic from one lockdown to another, that our community can enjoy good, safe facilities. So a lot of work to do, but I also applaud the portfolio holders and also the officers and the CEO for helping us navigate through this pandemic, which we will need to continue to do for the next couple of years.
Thank you, Councillor Contell. Any other councillors wish to make a statement? With that, I'll move to Councillor Aiken to close.
Thanks, Acting Mayor Sullivan. Look, I'll just take the opportunity then to formally thank a number of people. First is actually the state government for the Working for Victoria. Council did receive a total of $7.8 million during the financial year. That assisted our bottom line, and it also kept a significant number of our staff employed during the last 12 months. I'd like to thank the federal government for bringing forward the $11.8 million in grants that we're anticipating this financial year, and they actually brought them forward to assist us to achieve the record capital expenditure program that we have, and also significantly reduced our deficits, projected around to be about 23 million down to the 7.8 million. And finally, we have thanked Martin as the CEO, but I do want to personally just name out Michael Daguna, who's our Director of Finance. Thank you very much for your leadership of that team. Our financial figures reflect that. And also just a big shout out to Karen Ozolanecki and Narelle O'Shea, who are the real people that punch all the numbers in, and everyone actually sees those results, which is what we're getting tonight. This is their big night. If you're an accountant, the presentation of the annual financial statements is your big night, and the other councillors have mentioned as well too, but we really do give a big shout out to the finance team that's managing a significant amount of work and responsibilities during the COVID period, and those financial figures appear to be extremely robust and sustainable. So thank you very much, Karen, Narelle and Michael.
Thank you, Councillor Aiken. With that, I'll put to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Item 2, a long-term financial plan. Moved by Councillor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Mason. Councillor Aiken.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acting Mayor Sullivan. This is actually the first time that we've done this in Geelong, and actually we're actually following some of our neighbours on this one who've got out quicker than us in the G21 region. And that is that under the new Local Government Act, which was passed last year, councils must develop and keep a focus on a financial plan for at least 10 years. And tonight is the first release of our 10-year financial plan for the City of Greater Geelong. And what it does is it actually is a strategic document which attempts to link council's business plans and asset management plans and translates those outcomes and strategies into a financial plan for the next 10 years. And there are a number of assumptions that are actually under this document. And some of the ones are quite amazing when you start looking at them. In terms of our rate income, rates are actually 53% of our total income in the City of Greater Geelong. So when people talk to you about that rates are paying for everything, this document shows that they're not. They pay around about 53% of our expenditure. But what this report shows that over the next 10 years, we're anticipating going from rate collection of about $153.8 million up to $342 million. That's a 122% increase in terms of the amount of income that's coming in. However, that income may sound like it's quite significant, but under the rate capping regime that we're operating, it still is only at a 1.5% annual rate cap. So we've factored that in over the next 10 years. Also, the document talks about the challenges in terms of the key assumptions. One of them that the council group really needs to keep an eye on and focus our attention on is employee costs, because over the next 10 years, the average is around about 5%. So in other words, our CPI growth is anticipated to be around about 2.25% over the next 10 years. But our long-term financial plan is actually saying that our employment costs are actually going to be double what CPI is. So there's a real challenge there for this particular group to keep an eye on that and actually keep our management team honest to make sure that that additional investment that we're actually putting into our staff is actually generating benefit for our community. And the final thing I wish to talk about is that this document's going out for 2 weeks consultation, but there is a significant opportunity for the council and the community to influence this 10-year plan going forward as well too. We will have our annual budget periods still in the City of Greater Geelong, and this is an opportunity for the community to influence this document. There is also an opportunity now over the next 14 days for the community to talk about some significant elements of this document. One of those is our rating and revenue collection strategy. Our 10-year financial plan actually says that we're committing towards a strategy of reducing the number of differential rate systems that we have in Geelong. So in other words, at the present time, we actually know commercial rates pay significantly higher value in the dollar compared to residential rates. What our 10-year financial plan talks about is that we want to establish equity in our collection systems, especially in rates, and that we are in the medium to longer term committed towards reducing those differentiations that exist in our rates. So in other words, with our current system that we have, we recognise that we're in the top 10% for commercial rates in Victoria, but we're in the bottom 10% for residential rates. And that inequity in terms of our collection principles is something that we're going to try and address over the next 10 years. And it is now the opportunity for the community to have a look at some of those strategic decisions that we're actually considering and undertaking. The report also identifies our debt levels and our responsibilities that we had to that. So there's some, and it also talks about significant increases in our waste charges that we have in the City of Greater Geelong, which are being very driven much by the EPA and state government levies that are actually in place, not by council's cost escalations that are occurring in that area. So this document has extreme value for the organisation on how to plan, and it also has extreme value for us as councillors to manage our responsibilities over the financial terms over the next 10 years. And the last thing I'll make a comment on is our capital works program. It actually spend about $1.6 billion over the next 10 years, Councillor Sullivan, and I'll leave it at that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Councillor Aiken, our Chair of Finance. Councillor Mason, second.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. And as usual, Councillor Aitken's done a very good job on prosecuting his case. This is really a very important document, and it does reflect our aspirations for the next 10 years, and our risk appetite, our priorities, and our need to recover from our current situation. And I really would like to thank Michael and his team for all the work he's done. But councillors themselves, ourselves, we've all put a great deal of work into this long-term plan. And it is aligned with our core strategic documents, including our 30-year community vision for Greater Geelong, our clever and creative future, and our community plan 21 to 25, which includes our social infrastructure plan and sustainability framework. So there's a lot of work there. And this is actually the first generation of this 10-year plan. We will be able to revise it, and it will grow as time goes on. And I do note that we've discussed deficit a few times tonight, and we have had to, and we are going through a difficult stage with our deficit, but we are planning to have operating surpluses in all years except this first year, 21 to 22, which of course, as we've already explained, is largely due to COVID. Another very important thing in this plan is asset renewal. And we have, as is already mentioned, a huge amount of assets. And we do need to give careful attention to their renewal and to give some bias to that in the near future. So all of this, as Councillor Aitken said, is going out for community consultation for the next 14 days. And then it will come back for our final decision in late October. And I commend the document. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Mason. Any other councillors wish to make comment? Councillor Contell?
Thanks, Councillor Sullivan. I'm not going to really comment on the report too much. I'm just slightly off giving a plug to a topic that Councillor Aitken raised, because it's really important, and every opportunity that we get to communicate with the public about different initiatives that we're working on, we need to take. And I guess that this is one of those opportunities. Councillor Aitken mentioned the work and the review that we're putting into looking at the way that we may rate and also generate revenue in the future. It's really important for the community to be aware that we actually do have a revenue and rating plan currently out for community consultation and feedback. It's in the Have Your Say section of the City of Greater Geelong website. We've got a bit of time. It is open till December, but it's really important that we do hear from the community on this. We have been getting some good feedback, particularly from small business and retailers and commercial property owners, and that's extremely important, particularly as we head into the new budget period, which will be soon after Christmas. And so their feedback and the community's feedback on how they see us approaching rates and how we apply rates, whether it be industrial, residential or commercial and other, is really important. So just once again, giving a plug to that Have Your Say revenue and rating plan that's out there for community feedback now.
Thank you, Councillor Contel. Councillor Grisbeck.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Just to quickly touch base around the opportunity that this long-term plan provides for things like master plans over, for example, over sporting and recreation. It actually provides us a long-term financial plan which allows us to invest over the years and really see where that funding could go. So it's a real opportunity to look at how we do master planning in the future and what that looks like for our future plan. So we've already set our next 4-year plan in terms of our council plan. What does that look like in terms of the budget? But this is actually a longer term 10-year plan. It looks at things like what we will get in terms of DCP, in terms of developer contributions, and what we need to invest in future stages of planning. There's also a real opportunity to look at what have we promised to the community to do. We promised the community that we will get to zero landfill target by 2030 and 2031. That means the rollout of food waste collections, recycling of glass, all of those things have got to be budgeted for the longer term to create that opportunity. So this plan really highlights that we could do that, and we should be also maximising the opportunities that come with elections, and there is 2 of those in the next year or 2. So it's a really good opportunity for us to really show the community that we're genuine about our long-term financial sustainability and that we are looking to go back to surplus at some time in the next couple of years. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Grisbeck. Councillor Mansfield.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Sullivan. I think the one thing we can probably be certain of is that in 10 years we won't be in the position that we're predicting, but it's almost all the more reason to have a long-term financial plan so that we can ensure that we try and anticipate future risks and challenges to our viability as an organisation, and in terms of the services that we deliver, the infrastructure that we want to deliver for our community. We need to have a sense of what our future needs will be and how we're going to plan for those. This document does cover a whole series of risks, and I'm sure there are some there that we just don't even know about. It's the unknown, as we've seen with the pandemic, that can often really throw things way off where you want to be. So all the more reason to ensure that we have a sound revenue base. We're reviewing our rating structure, as has been alluded to, that we invest in our services and our infrastructure, that we don't get further behind on asset renewal, which has been a real risk that we've carried for a long time. All of these things are important for ensuring our sustainability and resilience in the future. So I'm really supportive of this financial plan that's been put out. Be really interested in seeing the community feedback we get on that, because it is important to see whether there are things we've missed in our long-term plan. But I do commend the team for all the work they've put into to trying to look this far ahead and prepare us as best we can for what the future holds.
Thank you, Councillor Mansfield. Do any of the councillors wish to speak? With that, I'll move to Councillor Aiken to close.
Thanks, Acting Mayor Sullivan. Yeah, look, thank you to all the councillors that made a comment and those that have actually made comments offline about this. All councillors, I think the community needs to understand, all councillors have actually participated in the development of our longer term financial plan, and simply because you don't speak tonight doesn't actually necessarily that you haven't contributed. In fact, everybody has contributed towards our 10-year financial plan. And look, the plan does identify that COVID is a severe impact for us. We're actually running a second year of deficit. Next financial year and the future 9, we're actually committed towards surpluses as a council group. It's been touched on the issue, a major risk for the organisation and impact on us is asset management and asset renewal. And we're anticipating that we're going to have to expend at least $40 million over the next 10 years to increase on an annual basis just to keep up and start addressing the asset renewal gap that exists in Geelong. The financial plan actually, we get excited about the level of capital works that we're proposing in Geelong, but the reality is urban growth and the urban sprawl that's occurring in the Geelong is actually significantly contributing to the amount of capital growth and capital works that we actually have to undertake. And it has been touched on about our rating structures and revenue frameworks that we're trying to work through. So there's lots of competing interests. The great thing is we've now got a baseline financially to understand those and to judge those, and also start understanding what is affordable, because we can't do everything. And this document gives us a capacity to understand what is sustainable and what is affordable, and what decisions councillors can make to actually influence under those constraints that we do have. So thank you to the team, and I look forward to the community, all members of the community, not just commercial, but residential community, providing feedback on this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aiken. With that, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. And that concludes this evening's meeting. I'd like to thank all the councillors, sport officers, and everybody watching at home on the live stream. I declare the meeting closed at 6:36 p.m. Good evening, everyone.